Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Om Shri Krishnaya Namah. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, entitled Jnana Vijnana Yoga. And we have explained that. You gain first jnana, intellectual comprehension of what your goal is. That in itself is not an easy. I'm using word intellectual, but it's not just theory. You are guided under spiritual guidance to really understand when we say Vairagya, what it means. Viveka, what it means. Shravana, listening, what does it mean? It's not simply everybody hears Shravana. So, now, that stage where intellect goes on having a clearer understanding of what the goal is. But if all this stay only in the level of intellect, then you have the possibility of being tempted by the cycle of birth and death, tempted by indras, pravritti, bhoga drishti. So that role of jnana, to have right type of knowledge being given to you in a right atmosphere, satsanga atmosphere. And vijnana, when you begin to assimilate it, leading to intuitional revelation, not staying in the intellectual level, then that's called sakshatkar, realization. So, 29th verse, Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tadavidu krishnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Those who take refuge in me, mamashritya, that's a very highlighted word. Ashraya means you are finding support. As long as you are finding support from the world, you are subject to the cycle of birth and death. But when you come to a deep understanding that if you are dreaming, and all your perspective is in the dream world, your happiness, your misery, everything. But nowhere in your dream world you can really rely upon. No spot of the dream world can really give you support. Nothing of the dream, not a needle point. That's what Mahabharata goes on. Not even a needle point. When you have that profound and internal maturity, then your only support is your own essential nature. Your essential nature, you start as a jiva, individual soul. The essential nature of the soul is Brahman. Jiva, as I have explained, is like a reflected sun. constantly shaking on the basis of the water. Soul that's constantly being shaken by your mental process. Now that soul has come to that revelation that the reality is the sun. Allegorically speaking, soul must exist to be united with God. And God is the only resting point. That's what we mean by take refuge in me. And this whole process is described sharanagati, surrendering to God. And surrender culminates with self-effacement. Self means you are constantly identifying yourself on the basis of your ego. Ego is not yourself. That ego must calm down. In day-to-day life, it calms down to some extent when you are in deep sleep. Therefore, every day God gives you a little glimpse of a state where all things of this world vanish, not a needle point of view. Until you slip from sleep to dream, and this waking world is a long dream. So those who take refuge in me, striving for the cessation of decay and death. The terms are upalakshana. Only one or two points are mentioned, but it involves your entire range. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. You are constantly gripped by pain, misery. And misery is experienced through these very embodiment, the birth, janm, death, jara, you go on aging. How many challenges you have to face. Things that you would just rush and run and dance and bounce. You can't, jara sabhi, who can't do. I'm joking. Jara is the term, is even a small amount. Jara, even a little thing you can't do. That's what jara does it with old age. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. And you don't have to be aged. Disease can make you old enough, no matter where you are. It gives you a rehearsal of the old age. And this is the outline of pain, misery. And your goal is to become free of misery eternally by realizing your swarup, your essential nature. And that's God. And that's the meaning, take refuge in me. Striving for the cessation of decay and death. Those who take refuge in me, they know Brahman fully. The culmination of the process of refuge, surrender, is absolute Brahma Gyan. When a river surrenders to the ocean, the culmination of the process, it flows towards the ocean. And culmination is a river is no longer a river. It discovers its essential nature. From the ocean, river was formed. I'm not going to the geology. So similarly, your self-effacement process, your process of surrendering to God, ends up realizing, I am that. And that's called knowing Brahman fully. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The Upanishad says, if you know Brahman, then you become Brahman. And that's the most becoming thing you can do. And you have then complete knowledge of the self, absolute Atmajnan, who am I? And all secrets of karma. Here karma in this context refers to Brahma karma. The role of God in your life, in your spiritual evolution. The entire role of God is as if God has designed a whole process, steps. Every step is God's creation. So therefore, Brahman plays the role of, firstly, Anya Devata. You view there are different gods and they will give you different type of fulfillments. Different expectations are fulfilled by different gods. Your mind in the beginning says they are all different. But you are starting like a kid. Who is giving fulfillment through your gods? The God of gods. God of gods. The source of that inspires you is divine, absolute God, the one divinity behind all. But that inspiration, because you are not in the high level, your mind interprets and allows your mind to be devotee of any particular deity, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Ganesha, Durga, Shiva. And even if you worship Krishna, Rama, your mind is not focused on the God, only focused on that he is going to give me what I want. As long as you have that attitude, it's called Anya Devata, other than God. But even in that other than, God's eyes are involved. Even when you worship a deity and you receive your fulfillment, who did it? God through that deity. If you begin to understand, then your mind moves from Anya Devata to Ananya Devata. The only deity that exists, God, he is being worshipped by you in so many ways. You can continue to do so, it is not contradiction. But with that understanding that Ganesha has made your life successful, removed obstacles, it is same God. If Saraswati has inspired you, it is the same God. That God has not changed. That type of devotion is called Ananya Bhakti. So these are the role of Brahman. Brahman is playing the role of being the Supreme Deity or other than the deity. And Brahman plays the role of Sagun Sakar. First stage, worship God with form and divine qualities. Next stage, Sagun Nirakar. As you become more mature, you are not depending upon the exact artistic presentation of God. Your mind is not thinking of meditating. But where is my picture? Krishna picture. Have you forgotten any stage of that picture? And different pictures give you different little changes. In one he is smiling, another he doesn't. I'm joking. So, Sagun Sakar, that's the first level. Your mind is drawn to a certain form, and the certain way the form appeals to you. Mature, you are not dependent on the form. The divine presence is subtle. But presence is there. Form doesn't mean anything. Even in human relations, you commune with people, you don't have to have the person there in front of you constantly. A deeper communication doesn't require a physical contact. So they're called Sagun Sakar, Sagun Nirakar. Form is not your focus, but his gun, divine virtues, they begin to fascinate your mind. Go further up, then your mind comes to understand that even the best word you use, best palabra, to describe God, best is in your mind. It is only palabra. It has its purpose. It delights your mind. It helps you to grow. But it has limitation. In other words, when say Brahman is Ananda, bliss, it's perfectly right. But have you really, simply because that palabra has entered your head, have you therefore attained the realization of Brahman? When you attain that type of bliss, you will not be even saying anything. But as long as you are saying, you are not diving. The person, I'm just joking, goes on saying, Mama, see, I'm diving. I've already gone into it. But as long as sound is coming out, you are not really diving. Try to understand. It's a subtle point. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't use words. But try to understand that best of words, God is Satchidananda. That doesn't mean that you have understood God or realized God. The realization transcends your mental concepts. So that Nirgun Nirakar. All these are called Brahma Karma. Brahman playing the role in all these stages. He is Sagun Sakar, he is Sagun Nirakar, he is Nirgun Nirakar. Sadhibhutadhidaivam mam sadhiyajnam cha ye viduhu prayanakalepi cha mam ta vidurayukta yukta chetasaha. Those who know me as Adhibhuta, you are being introduced to special terminologies. Adhibhuta, first point, let me lead you to understand. All the Upanishads speak of three aspects. When we talk about three types of tapa, or three types of misery, we described adhyatmic, adhibhautik, adhidaivik. Your world experience has three aspects: adhyatmic, subjective; adhibhautik, the world that you experience through your mind and senses; the world of practical reality, adhibhautik. Adhidaivik, is interpreted as act of will, God's will. To give you an illustration in a simple way, your eyes are subjective, adhyatmic. The sun that shines is adhibhautik. A divine link that connects your eyes with the sun, adhidaivik. So you have physical aspect, you have subjective aspect, you have objective aspect, and that which connects subjective with the objective and transcends both is the divine aspect. So, scriptures lead you to a whole range of things, implying that you study your own body. Your eyes, subjective; sun, objective. Sun God connects them both. Similarly, every part of your body has subjective, objective, and a divine link connecting. In this context, however, all that I have said is now being presented in a little different way. And this chapter opens the door to those terminologies. Those who know me as Adhibhuta, all these three aspects, Adhibhuta, Adhidaivika, Adhyatma, all the three are aspects of Brahman. The reality behind all the three is the same Brahman. Those who know me as Adhibhuta, with relation to physical elements, as well as Adhidaiva, with relation to gods, and Adhiyagya, another terminology used. Yagya is a movement of the soul for purifying the whole process. Yagya is literally meaning sacrifice. You always live your life with sacrifice. Even for worldly gain, you have to sacrifice a lot. But that sacrifice is not real sacrifice. The real yajna is where you go on sublimating your impurities, And just to give you, every soul has 5 debts. And you pay the debts by yajna. Debted to God, your yajna implies your whole practice of integral yoga in daily life. That thereby you are paying devarin, debt paid to God. That's the ultimate debt. Rishi Rina. Sages that have given to you spiritual knowledge, spiritual scriptures. If you don't study them and practice them, you are not paying your debt to those sages. So by assimilating the teachings, you are paying Rishi Rina. Coming to another level, you are indebted to your parents and the whole line, parents, and so forth. You are indebted. Your fulfillment in life is possible when you have a deep understanding that somehow you are pleasing your parents and receiving blessings from them. That form of your sacrifice called Pitri Yajna. Next type of debt you pay is to human beings, society that has given you all types of technology and all convenience. Therefore, you live to pay debt by doing good deeds and by contributing to the promotion of peace and harmony in the world in whatever way possible. Thereby you are paying debt to humanity. And final debt to all animals and birds, all creatures. How much comfort they have given to you, you don't realize. Every day you wake up and listen to the songs of birds. So paying all these debts, the term is yajna. And also understand, when we speak of jnana yajna, you are helping people to understand the goal of their life. And jnana yajna includes all these, anything that you can inspire. So the whole yajna process reveals Brahman. In that sense, Brahman is called Adhi Yajna, the climax of, or the goal of your all yajnas. Whoever has understood these points, they with their mind centered on me, the end result, the mind has nothing else to go to. Brahman becomes the only reality. Realize me even at the time of their death. You don't wait for the time of death. It simply implies it has become your inner revelation so powerful that death becomes for you a myth. So whether you are physically alive or not, simple point I'm leading you to understand that Jivan Mukti is when you attain liberation as if you are dead to your body. Rather, body is dead to you. You are immortal. That type of internal revelation and absolute conviction, if that has happened, that is now stated as even at the time of death, his mind remembers God only. Remembering God at the time of death is not accident. You must have a complete God realization in order that your mind has nowhere to go to. It's allegorical statement. You don't wait until you die and prove that you are remembering God. But for general masses, that also has its own message. Anyone who dies and at the time of death expresses cheerfulness. It points to the fact that his soul was not ordinary. His soul was. How intense is his statement, that is his business. All souls may not be at exactly the same stage. But any soul that has developed a full revelation, so when a person dies saying Ram, he attains liberation. What I'm leading you to understand, don't wait for the death. And don't plan that at the time of death you will be remembering God. Remind you with that parable. That there's a merchant who developed generosity in his heart, did many generous deeds, but also wanted to secure his liberation. So therefore, every near and dear one he gave Sanskrit name. His own sons were all divine names. In his office, all people were given a special names. So, when he lay dying, he started saying, where is Rama? Where is Krishna? Where is Shiva? And they all said, here am I, here am I, here am I. But who is at the shop? And then he died. So don't fall into the trap of that. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Vijnana Yogo Nam Saptamo Dhyayah. Thus in the Upanishad of the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, ends the 7th chapter entitled The Yoga of Jnana Vijnana, Knowledge and Realization. And now we are entering into 8th chapter. It's known as Akshara Brahma Yoga. The yoga of imperishable Brahman. All these terminologies we have said, if you fully comprehend and see the role of Brahman operating in so many ways, then your mind has nowhere to go but Brahman. And that movement to Brahman is Akshara Brahma Yoga. Brahman, that is imperishable, immutable, unshakable, eternal, absolute. And it begins with Arjuna's question. Arjuna uvacha, kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adhidaivam kim uchyate. And since the next verse also is connected with it very closely, adhiyagyaha katam kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katam yeyo sinyatatmabhihi. Seven questions have been placed by Arjuna. Those 7 points were previously mentioned by Krishna. And here the simplified version. First, let me give you the translation. Arjuna asks, O Purushottama, Purushottama, soul that is absolutely the best. Souls are jivas. But the best of all jivas are reflected suns. The best of all the reflected suns is the sun. So when we say Purushottama, that is what it means. Normal Purusha is your soul. Essentially Purushottama. Every soul is Purushottama, Brahman. Now these are these questions. What is Brahman? What is Adhyatma, subjective reality? What is Brahma Karma, or the role of Brahma's presence? What is said to be Adhibhuta, the reality behind all physical world? What is Adhidaiva, the presiding deities behind every part of your body? But all those presiding deities are Brahman. Each question has the same answer, Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. What is Adhiyagya? Here in this body. Adhiyagya process in the body, realize Deho Devalayo Prokto. Your body is Devalaya temple. And your jiva is essentially God, Shiva. When that type of revelation begins to develop, that even in this body you begin to discover God is the reality. O Madhusudana, the word Madhusudana, Madhu, Kaitabha were destroyed by Lord Vishnu in a storyline. In mystical line, raga dvesha, attachment and hatred, are terminated by God, leading the soul to enlightenment. So that's why it's called Madhusudana. And how are you to be known at the time of death? By those who are self-disciplined. Self-disciplined, those who have practiced integral yoga in a perfect manner. There are several questions, and each relates to Brahman. First, what is Nirguna Brahman? What is absolute Brahman beyond form and name? Second, Adhyatma. What is subjective role of Brahman? In subjective role, Brahman is viewed as the source of the entire creation. He willed, Upanishad uses allegorical term, and led by his will, the entire creation began to unfold. All that aspect of Brahman and more practical, subjective Brahman operates in your every individual. What is your subjective reality? Your body, your mind, your intellect, your ego. Where has they all come from? Brahman. Brahma karma, third question. And that point I have explained how Brahman plays the role of Nirgun Nirakar, Sagun Sakar, Sagun Nirakar, all those points I have explained. What is Adhibhuta? The world of physical universe, universal reality, sun, moon, stars. I already have explained to you by the illustration of your eyes are adhyatmika, subjective. Sun is objective. But who is divine link between your eyes and the sun? Sun God. And who is Sun God? Brahman. So that's what we mean by Adhidaiva. And Adhiyajna explained how living a life of spiritual sacrifice, yajna, you are led to absolute purity. God is the embodiment of perfection of yajna. And the seventh state, that Paramatma Swarup, the Swarup within you, the real essential nature, is Brahman alone. In 7 ways, you are being given a picture of having a complete enlightenment. If these 7 points are well assimilated, that means you have attained the goal of life. And if you have attained the goal of life, your mind is focused on God all the time. You don't have to wait for death. That's called Ichha Mrityu, described in Mahabharata. Bhishma had that type of, that he will die according to his own will. People interpret it, oh, how wonderful. But But if you are realized, where is your will? It's God's will. So you don't interfere with your death. You are led by God's will. But you always, you have no contradictions. Whatever is God's will is your will. And so these questions have been asked by Arjuna, and Lord Krishna gives response. And what he responds, I've already given you an outline, and now we'll see more details, and we'll continue. Om Shri Krishnaya Namah. Om Shri Krishnaya Namah. Om Shri Krishnaya Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om. And prayer for shower of Karunamaya Rasa of divine grace over all. And let every soul be led to liberation. Every individual be blessed with sanamati, that type of understanding that inspires the soul to attain liberation. Inspire everyone to attain liberation and be free of mrityu virus. Mrityu virus, death virus, mortality virus. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Vabandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Am Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat.